All right, everybody, if everyone could take their seats. For the second half of the show, we're going to roll an interesting video. It's called Out of the Darkness. It has to do with the 800-pound gorilla in the room in corrections today, whether it's county, state, or juvenile. It's the mental health patients and what we can do to fix it. So we're going to roll this video, and then we're going to have Dr. Dwenger come up, a mental health expert, and make her presentation. So let's hit that video.
This is a place with a story of decisions in the past that echo into the present. People around here say it's haunted. They say you can still hear the voices warning us.
I'm Joe Poor. This is the site of the former Central State Hospital for the Insane. The grounds are now home to a museum. All that's left of the hospital are a few old buildings, a plaque, a graveyard, and the story. And a story that tells us a lot about where we are now.
The story begins between 1850 and 1900, when hospitals like Central State were built all over the country to treat mental illness. By 1955, there were more than 500,000 secure mental health beds in the country. The population at that time was 164 million, so that's 341 beds for every 100,000 people. Then, we began a nationwide initiative called deinstitutionalization. The Community Mental Health Act of 1963 set the crisis in motion.
Government agencies began closing these hospitals. They believed the communities could do a better job of caring for the mentally ill patients. One by one, most of these facilities disappeared.
We went from 341 secure beds per 100,000 people in 1955 to only 18 beds per 100,000 people in 2022. In 1955, there were more than 500,000 mentally ill patients in the nation's public psychiatric hospitals. By 1994, this number had been reduced to 71,619.
So what happened to the mentally ill patients after they were released into our communities? Many were released without care, without friends, without family, nowhere to go. And many wound up living on our streets, homeless in our communities.
In 1950, the estimated unhoused population was around 100,000, mostly older men in the Skid Row sections of the 41 biggest cities. By 2024, more than 770,000 people are homeless on a given day in America, some temporary, some chronically. And by then it was men, women, and children, much of it still concentrated in metropolitan areas. But make no mistake, it's a critical crisis across the country, from our largest cities to our smallest towns.
We need to understand that many good people are trying to do something about this crisis, but too many discussions focus on ideologies and politics, when what we really need are solutions. And studies have shown there are two main reasons people become homeless.
According to a study by UCLA, 78% of the homeless population have some kind of mental disorder, and 75% suffer from drug addiction.
The crisis of homelessness in America has inflamed two more problems that burn out of control across the country: crime and the incarceration of mentally ill people in our jails and prisons.
A San Francisco Department of Public Health study called it the perilous trifecta: being homeless, mentally ill, and addicted.
And there's another crisis that we're not supposed to talk about, but it's well documented in the San Francisco study and others. The homeless commit crimes at 100 times the rate of the average citizen.
The mentally ill, homeless, and addicted in many cases wind up incarcerated in our jails and prisons, where the mentally ill have higher rates of recidivism and suicide than all other inmate populations. Over the past 20 years, the number of mentally ill inmates who commit suicide has increased from 19% to 38%. Recidivism rates are just as shocking. 54% reincarceration for people with severe mental illness, 66% for those with substance abuse problems, 68% for those with co-occurring mental illness and substance abuse problems.
My family's built correctional facilities since 1856, for 5 generations. I was born to this business. Jails and prisons are an essential service to our society. Always have been, they always will be. But jails and prisons are not the place for the mentally ill. They need treatment, not incarceration.
Up to 64% of jail inmates and 54% of prison inmates have some kind of diagnosable mental illness. Studies estimate the number of dangerously mentally ill patients, people with schizophrenia, manic depression, and bipolar disease, at 20 to 25% and higher in our big cities. And there are proven treatments and therapies for all these diseases. But our jails and prisons are not equipped to provide them.
Some people say there's no solution, that will never make a difference. But I've been in the correctional industry and detention facility business all my professional life, and I disagree. I'm not alone either. Nationally recognized experts are saying the same things.
We can design and build facilities that are suitable to treating mental illness. We can repurpose abandoned buildings like schools and hotels to house mentally ill patients. We can control lighting and sound, furniture and fixtures. These innovations have been proven to help. We can improve communication and rehabilitation. We can build facilities that will make a difference. We can design a new kind of correctional facility for the mentally ill, because that's exactly what we need.
No one doubts the compassion of the organizations working to solve the crisis of homelessness and the travesty of incarcerating mentally ill people in our jails and prisons. But it's time we measure compassion by outcomes, not intention. It's time we face this crisis. We have to. What we're doing now is not working, and it's not fair. It's not fair to the mentally ill to keep them in this downward spiral of homelessness, crime, and addiction. It's not fair to the law enforcement professionals in our jails and prisons. They're not trained or equipped to deal with them. And it's not fair to our communities. Join us. It's time for solutions. We're now going to get to Dr. Dwenger. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on who she is. She's an experienced clinical psychologist with a strong background in correctional and forensic psychology. She earned her doctorate from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology after graduating from Indiana University, began her career internship at the FBOP, Federal Bureau of Prisons. In 2013, she joined the Indiana Department of Corrections and started working with Kevin Orm, serving in roles from clinician to executive director of behavioral health. Dr. Dwenger now serves as chief behavioral health advisor at Elevatus Architects, continuing her work to improve mental health outcomes through thoughtful, evidence-based strategies. So let's have a round of applause for Dr. Dwenger.
Hi, lunch is at 12. Do you want me to be done by 12? I don't want to hold you from lunch, and I talk really fast, and I didn't know how fast I was going to have to talk. First off, I want to apologize for those of you who have been holding your breath hoping I had more letters from incarcerated individuals during this presentation. I do not this seminar, so I'm really sorry about that. Instead, I want to talk about more than just walls, designing correctional environments that heal, not harm. Did you know that if you walk into a space, your body knows before your brain does if it's safe or not? Imagine working or living in a place where you are constantly told, it's not safe here, don't trust anyone. This presentation is not about making prison pretty. It's about using research and environmental psychology to do the best that we can to help people self-regulate their emotions, heal, and re-enter our society. Because I don't want you to be late for lunch, I'm not going to tell you what you're going to learn, but hopefully you'll learn some things. Let's jump right in, okay? So I want you to close your eyes. This is a safe place. You can trust me. I'm a psychologist. Close your eyes. Come on, do it. And I want you to picture a place that makes you feel at peace or grounded. A place that makes you happy. Maybe it's your grandma's house or a trail you like to walk. A childhood's best friend's bedroom. What do you see? What do you smell? Check in. How do you feel right now? What you're experiencing is called place attachment. It's the emotional bond we form with environments. It's not necessarily about what activities happen there, but how the space makes us feel. Think about it. Do you act the same at a bar on Friday night as you do at grandma's house after church? Do you think these incarcerated individuals act the same in prison as they do at grandma's house after church? I assure you, they don't. I am a behavioral psychologist, and this is one of the very first things I ever learned in school. If you've ever been to a behavioral cognitive therapist, you also have probably learned this, and essentially it just says that what's happening around us impacts how we think about ourselves, which impacts how we feel and our mood and our emotions, and then how we behave in the world. So to go back to the corrections environment, imagine that you walk into a cell. This is your house now. The wall is filled with graffiti. There's some poop in the corner. The belief you might have about yourself is, I'm not worthy. No one cares about me. The mood and the emotions you can imagine is then going to be shame or regret, grief maybe. And the behavior is, you think I'm an animal? You're gonna treat me like an animal? I'll act like an animal, right? You don't think this is destructible? I'll show you how destructible it is. Conversely, if an incarcerated individual walks into a space for visitation and it's very warm and welcoming for their children, there's a nice seating area for them, it's colored nice, and their children seem to be having a good time on the play kitchenette. You might think to yourself, I'm still a worthwhile father. I can still father from here, right? Your mood and your emotions might be pride or dedication to helping your family, and your behavior is going to be showing up for those visitations and calling your family and staying connected to them. Is that making sense, how all of these things are connected? And environmental psychology is the study of the way the environment impacts us and our behavior. So some of this is not going to be new to you. I'm probably saying things that you already understand. If you're feeling anxious, you might have a pit in your stomach and you're sweaty and you can't quite clearly think very well. You're kind of looking around, paying attention to what's going on around you. You might be having an idea to escape whatever it is that you're getting anxious about. So maybe you don't go to the party. Maybe you don't go to work, right? Because you're trying to avoid that anxiety. In prison, there's really no way to avoid prison, which is the anxiety-producing thing, right? So what do? We see guys use substances for the first time or use way more substances than they ever did before because there is no escape from that anxiety. Trauma, too, same thing. The science tells us that you're on edge, right? You're hypersensitive to the lights and to the sounds, and everything is overwhelming. And all of that is increased your sensitivity because you're on alert, wondering where is the next trauma going to come from. And prison in and of itself is traumatic, right? But we also know that 90% of the incarcerated individuals come to prison with at least one traumatic experience, if not more. Most of the time chronic, sexual abuse trauma from home. So we can clearly see how mood impacts our behavior and then how we interact with our environment, right? And this isn't hard to see in our own life. Anybody ever gone and got groceries on a Sunday and you come home Tuesday and you had a shit day at work and you open the fridge and you're like yelling at the dog and the kids and you're like, there's nothing in this fridge and I'm so hungry and we're ordering pizza because we're all mad because you can't figure anything out. And then the very next day you come home and you're in a better mood. and you're like, I'm gonna make that chicken, lemony, basil pasta thing. And it's literally the same ingredients in your fridge as it was the day before. Am I the only one? Like, mood matters into your ability to make good decisions. Thankfully, the reverse is true, the converse is true, that if you are settled and you're calm and relaxed, you can have improved emotional regulation. You can kind of go through the day of ups and downs well. You can make better decisions. You have broadened thinking. You can be flexible in what you're thinking about, right? You're going to make better pro-social behaviors. The science behind that is you have your amygdala, which is in your brain here, when it is on fight or flight, in that traumatic and anxious kind of state, this is what is firing, right? It's like there is a tiger, it is coming for you, run. And it shuts down your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that you think rationally and you make good decisions. The reason being is because the amygdala does not care which shoes are more comfortable for a long run, right? There is a tiger, get going. So the prefrontal cortex is also the part of your brain that your teenage children have not developed yet, and sometimes you're like, why did you do that? Why did you do that thing? Were you thinking? No, they weren't, because they didn't have a prefrontal cortex. But when you're in a calm, positive mood, the amygdala is then able to calm down, and you can use the prefrontal cortex, therefore making better decisions. So I got thinking, what if I've been asking myself this wrong question this whole time, myself included, because these are words that have come out of my mouth, right? Like, how secure is this? How secure is this door really? How secure is this lock? How secure is this room? I've done my fair share of sitting across from serial killers and murderers, right? Not nice people. But what if we asked instead, how does this make me feel and act? Because what is around me makes me feel different and act differently, right? You can see this in the guy who says, oh, you don't think I can destroy that? Let me show you. And they spend an entire week trying to destroy whatever new fixture you've put in their cell. So asking question ourselves about what does the environment say to them? Does it say, you're not worthy, you're not important, we don't care about you? Or does it say, you're a cook, you're a father, you're gonna go home someday? I'm going to let you just take a look at this while I drink some water. This is something you've probably all seen before. Maybe you've gone to a lecture about this, but more research that says environmental surroundings impacts our mood and therefore our behavior. For instance, and these aren't in any order, really it's just we want less of the top things in our environment and we want more of the bottom things. If you went on the tour yesterday, I really focused on noise because to me that is a very easy one for us all to understand the science behind. When there is unpredictable noise around us, it elevates our stress. Everybody's now heightened because the traumatic response that they all have because they've all been traumatized in their life. So now everybody's like, ooh, what's gonna happen, right? So everybody's on edge and anxious. Some guy's like, I don't wanna live like this, you know, so he goes up and he punches the officer in the face. Well, now the officer's like, well, no wreck, everybody lock up. Now everybody's mad, right? And that cycle just goes and goes and goes. And architecture didn't create that problem, right? But it also didn't help it because neither the officer nor any of those other incarcerated individuals had a space to say, all right, I need to take a break, I need to time out, which we are able to do, right? If you go to work and you're having a bad time, some of us just sit in a bathroom stall for 20 minutes and that's our peace, or you go out for a smoke. In corrections, it's really hard to do any of those coping skills. And so how can we make the environment conducive? Even if you're sitting in here and you're like, Dr. Dwenger's such a softie. I'm not really, okay? But it does feel like that a little bit here. So if you think, my agency is never going to pay for this for the incarcerated individuals. Well, what about staff? What if we could just intervene with the staff? Because staff statistics, you probably already know this, are astronomically sad. 16-year less life expectancy. We're talking depression rates and suicide rates 3 times that of the general population. So how can we give them wellness rooms or decompression zones? Where can we give them access to the outdoors? Give them a little, enjoy the natural light, get some fresh air. Break rooms, showers, cafes, things that are going to long-term also impact the incarcerated individuals, but get in the way of that unending cycle. So I wanted to just take a quick look at how across the globe people are doing some of these things that I aspire to do with Elevatus someday. This is a prison in California women's prison in California. You can see at the top there how they've incorporated stimuli, different colors. They've got the biophilic mural, the wood-grained areas. They can choose their seating if they want to sit at a table or not. The bottom is cafeteria. Look at all that beautiful natural light, the high ceilings, where then they're allowed to do a little bit more things with the lighting. This is Storstrom in Norway. You've probably heard of Norway. This is considered the world's most humane and re-socialized closed prison. And the facility is really designed as a college campus. It only houses 250 individuals, but they all cook their own meals with staff. So there's a kitchenette, there's a hallway and a kitchenette at the front. Staff and incarcerated individuals cook their meals in the kitchen area. Every room is like a dorm room. It has a fridge and a bathroom, and they can decorate it at the same way that you could in a dorm room. The idea here is to give them more autonomy, that they are responsible for continuing the mundane tasks that we all hate, like cleaning your room and doing your laundry and doing the dishes. In Australia, here is a prison they're known for, in this West Kimberley, that they wanted to be very community focused. So they made it so that this prison is very inviting to the community. Their children's area in the visitation room is very welcoming. The idea being that the closer that they can be to those people on the outside, the better their reentry is going to be, right? And the statistics here, in Norway's population obviously is much smaller than ours, but the recidivism rate is 20% compared to the United States at 66%. So there's got to be some validity to really looking at these rehabilitation. How do we connect with the community? As they close Rikers Island and they're doing the 5 bureaus in New York City, they're following a similar model to Australia in that they're making it part of the community. So it's going to be in the community, it's going to look like the community, there's going to be a food market on the first floor so that the community feels invested in that building. It's not like that, ooh, scary building over there. This is part of their community. It's where they go and they get food for the farmer's market, hopefully increasing the likelihood that they'll go visit their cousin upstairs, right? Or they'll decide to do a volunteer program with the people that are there because it's part of the community. And that's what Australia is doing here. India and Sweden have really leaned into the meditation practices and the yoga. Yoga is hit or miss here in the United States, but it's really focused on that stuff that I started the conversation with about how do you calm down your amygdala and come to a resting state so that you can use your prefrontal cortex and make good decisions even in the time of crisis. That takes practice. You're not just going to do meditation one day and be like, oh, I'm so good at this. This is so much fun. That's not going to happen. So they actually incorporate it in their prison daily programming. Another unconventional way to impact the environment that I really liked was this is the behavioral health unit in Nashville's new jail in Nashville, Tennessee. The correctional officers actually wear scrubs. That automatically says we're here to help, right? We associate scrubs with medical people or nurses who are there to help. So it automatically kind of gets rid of that you versus them. It also, the administrator told me that staff satisfaction has skyrocketed because who doesn't want to wear pajama pants that are kind of silky to work every day? So she has said, bar none, this is one of her favorite things that they did at the Nashville jail. Now you might be asking like, oh, okay, Dwenger obviously doesn't have a budget and has never been the CFO of anything because what she's talking about sounds expensive. And that's true. Like, you know, a skylight isn't cheap, or I'm not going to give you acoustical panels for free and they're weirdly expensive. But I would also ask you to think about what else do you pay for in your jurisdiction? How much does it cost you when an offender punches someone and breaks their nose? How much does it cost you to get to the hospital? If you're a local county jail and your jail doesn't want, or your hospital doesn't want to work with your incarcerated population, so how far do you have to drive? How many staff do you have to pay overtime to go sit at the hospital while that guy gets his nose fixed? How much does recruitment cost? On average in the Midwest, I did a little research. In the Midwest, for every $1,000 spent on recruitment and background checks, they get one staff. Then once they get in the door, you got about 8 weeks of training, which equates to about $6,000. So for every new staff, you can figure $7,000 to $8,000 in the Midwest. I don't know other states, I just looked here. So $7,000 to $8,000. Then they get out on the pod and they're like, ooh, it is dark and dank and smelly in here. No thanks. And they work it for 2 months and leave. That is an investment that you're putting in that is not really coming out. So in that QR code that I have at the end of the slide, I also put some questions maybe to ask the CFO and to really dig into how much is some of the stuff that we're spending. An RHU bed is 30% more cost 30% more than a person in general population, and 2 times if they go to like a maximum security lockup. How much does that cost? All right, here's the game. You knew it was coming. Okay, get out your phone. It's not really a game this time, I'm sorry, but it is at least an interactive. Go ahead, take this QR code. It will bring up an app on your phone. You don't have to download anything, don't worry. It might ask you for your name. I don't remember if this one will or not. And it should follow along with what I do. So it's just going to create a word cloud. So the first question, what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed? You've had a crap day, you come home, you open the fridge, and you're like, there's nothing to eat, and you kick the dog. What do you do when you're like, oh, I'm kind of in a shit mood and I need to do something about it? Remembering, I love that somebody said withdraw, because drink, yes, I love this so much, because there are good things and bad things, right? I might overeat and go out to eat and do something really terrible, or I might breathe. That was one of the first ones too, right? Like, I just need to breathe. So we can recognize that we have good coping skills and we have bad coping skills. That withdrawal one is pretty big. Ooh. Go for a walk, sleep. The reason I think that this is important is when we look at this, and keep filling it out, when we look at this, how able is a correctional staff or an incarcerated individual able to do these things? And of course, we don't want them necessarily drinking, but they are. They're using whatever substances they can get their hands on, right? Even guys who have never used substances before are like, I cannot be in this unit another day. Give me whatever you have. I will pay you whatever it costs. They're making terrible gambling decisions, all because they don't know how else to cope with what's going on around them. So looking at this and thinking, like, can an incarcerated individual go for a run whenever they want? Probably not, depending on what level of camp they're at. Can they breathe? Yes. Can they work out? I don't know. Cook, that's the one that I thought of too. I like to cook. When I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I like to chop up the onions and make a really fancy meal. Incarcerated and staff can't do that in the moment. Work on a hobby, maybe. So just thinking through, how can we help the incarcerated individuals make their repertoire of coping skills bigger? Okay, next question. Your phone should automatically switch. What's one word that you would like your facility to feel like? So going back to that placement attachment. When your staff walk in, and if that's what you just want to think about is the staff here, or correctional, anybody who is working there, what do you want it to feel like? Because what's the ultimate behavior that you want from them? Ooh, cohesive, that's good. To me, what we're seeing right now is the future of corrections, because you all in this room are here to make the change. Just as that video was saying and Joe was saying, this is what we want. And we have the power to do it. So this word cloud represents the future of corrections. How do we get there? Safe, secure, professional, welcoming, clean, I love it, comfortable. No one is going to get better uncomfortable. Predictable, healing. Yes. Thank you so much for participating in that. I think it's just really cool to see in live kind of reality what we all want. And it's all very similar, so how do we get there? So next steps, I'm going to just leave you with what I would like you to do from here. Go back to your facilities, go back to your manufacturers, and think about what you do that makes you happy. Because we know that better mood means better decisions, which means safer environment and better reentry. That is science. That is not a luxury. This is neuroscience and science, and it is backed up by research. Audit your existing spaces for the principles we discussed today. Is there any way you can give them autonomy? Can they choose something in this environment? Can you just get 5 more rocking chairs maybe and let them choose a rocking chair instead? How do you instill in your environment's choice? Use a subject matter expert if you're lucky enough to be building a new facility in years to come. It does not have to be me. There are me's at other large architect firms. But make sure you're checking in with them, because there are things that they have in mind. I am so, so grateful for Kevin Orm for giving me the platform to go and help design the facility so that we could make it something that was meaningful, and we could start from the very beginning on what we were missing in Indiana and what our need was and go from there. Measure your outcomes. Don't just take my word for it. Use data, use stories. Ask your mental health people to do an assessment of the mood. Ask, what are the diagnoses that are most present at our prison? What do we need to work on? How do we increase that? What's the mental health load? What do we need to do to increase the mood of this facility? And explore the short-term cost versus long-term impact with leadership. Again, there's going to be a QR code, and I have a bunch of questions you can come back to your leadership with and ask, because I know I don't have a budget. I have never been a CFO. I can't imagine that those are easy conversations to have, but thinking through long-term cost versus short-term benefit, because or short-term cost, long-term cost, because the cheapest things now ultimately are going to cost you the most money in the long run. Bill, I am so thankful for my opportunity. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for Elevatus for letting me work there. It's so fun. But I really do feel like we have the opportunity to make a change. This is not just a new building. This changes culture. This changes behavior. This changes community safety. And to me, that's not just architecture, what I'm doing. What we are doing, this feels like justice. There is my contact information. If I have not given you a card yet, you can scan the small itty bitty little QR code. The bigger QR code then is that resource. It'll take you to a PDF that has all of, that will take you to all of that research so that you can look and see that I'm not just making this stuff up and that there are actual studies about this, but nobody here probably wants to hear about the clinical significant value of P equals 0.05 like I do. So go ahead and scan that if you're a nerd or you need to talk to your finance people, and you can have all the data. Thank you. Can I leave this up?
All right, and now we're going to take 45 minutes to an hour. I believe the lunch is going to be served right where we had breakfast this morning. So everyone go out and get some good food, relax a little bit. We're going to come back and have 2 more presentations. We're going to have TJ Rogers from Accurate Door Controls and then Mike Smith from Steel Cell of North America. Thank you very much.